Alrighty. Turn that light down just a little bit here. All right. Mr. Rex, is there a GitHub or anything? No, there isn't right now. All right. So I want to go ahead and start off with, I finally got some sleep, so I've had a chance to take a look at some stuff. My music's too loud. Let me just turn this down real quick. All right, so I had a chance to sleep, so there's a lot of stuff I want to do differently. The problem with the way I have it set up right now, if we go ahead and take a look here, I know that I'm going to be drawing a lot of different rooms. Some are going to be overlapping. A lot of them are going to be overlapping, and I'm going to go ahead and either just merge the ones that overlap or just outright delete it. Potentially even just move it to a different spot. And if I'm going to be drawing all these sprites, and even the walls and everything else, I don't want to go ahead and have to constantly be instantiating all these things and deleting them. So I want to go ahead and take a different approach where we actually draw out the whole geometry of the level first, at least in memory. And then go ahead and, well, as far as the background goes, once we get tile maps, that's fine. We can actually just probably get away with using a texture right now with the background with that floor layer tiled across it. And then we can keep track of all the cells. And the ones that should have a floor on it, we can go ahead and actually put a floor on it. Or not put a wall on. Everything else will have a random selection of different types of walls. And it's going to be much more efficient that way. It'll be faster, and I'm not going to be wasting so much time instantiating stuff and then deleting it. So I'm going to start that today. So we got scripts. We don't need to do anything in there. So I'm going to use generate level. Room. And we'll mostly spend our time in these scripts today. And it looks like I'm going to be changing pretty much everything. Let's come down to sprites. I'm going to go ahead and create just a basic empty sprite. And this sprite here is only going to be used while I'm actually creating the level in the scene. So what do I want to call it? Editor sprite. And then I can go ahead and move it to an editor folder later and everything else. That's fine. I do want to change a few things on it. Let's make it single. Apply. I want to move where the pivot point is. Got no filtering, so we'll just go into the sprite editor and do it. I want to move the pivot down to the left and bottom. Since that's how I'm actually going to go ahead and position all my stuff. So let's say my one cell is going to be measured at 0, 0. And then that means this sprite will put down and it's going to measure from 0, 0 to 0, 1 and 0, 1 also on the X. So we'll go ahead, we'll apply that. Come on. Okay, so we're going to put it here. So yeah, let's go ahead. We'll start editing this. Got the script. And before I had the walls, what I did was I went ahead and put the room down, and then I put the walls around the outside, or sorry, around the outside layer here. This time I'm actually going to go around the outside of it. So lots of changes. And while I'm here, let's get rid of the rouge. Oh, need the class. And we don't even need this to be a mono behavior anymore. I will need to give it a system. Yeah, I will do that. System dot serializable. It's not an attribute though. Anyway, so we'll go ahead. I don't want these to be serializable anymore. I'm still going to keep them in the room, but I'm going to make them static. I don't need multiple copies of them. I'm just thinking about it. Yeah. And I'm going to have them be public. This way I can access them outside without a reference. And there's only one copy in memory. And current width. And we'll do the exact same thing for height. Oh. And I'm actually going to move all these together at the top. Oh, I've been on Windows too long. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. There we go. We'll put these up here. Keep all my statics together. And for width and height, I'm also going to need a position on X and Y. So we can go ahead and just put all that together inside of a bounds. So let me go ahead. We'll get rid of this first. I want to switch this over to a bounds. Tiles. I do actually want that, but later. And I'm going to call it cells. Let's get rid of all that. I'm not going to need that method. Lots of changes. I forgot to press play. That's fine. Probably not going to be that exciting today. Let's go ahead and leave those up there for now. So we got that. And I'm going to convert this over to a bounds, but I do want this to be serialized. And that way there I can store my width, my height, and my position all inside of one variable. And I don't want to be able to set it from outside of here, but I think I will want to go ahead and retrieve it. I'm not going to use a field because I don't want to inherit. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a public for it. And just going to return to bounds, which I'll just call bounds. There we go. Whoops. It's not going to let me do that, is it? Okay. Great. Now I need a constructor. And this is how I'll go ahead and set it up. So I'm going to start off the default constructor. Bounds.size will be equal to, and this is a vector 3, I believe, right? Yes, a vector 3. And we'll just go vector. Oh, this is size. Center will be different. So vector. And I guess we'll go min width, min height, and 1. We're also going to need bounds dot center is going to be equal to. We've already gone ahead and offset the sprite, so I'm going to go ahead and make the center just be vector 3, and dot 0. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and pass in a bounds. Which I'll just call B. I'm trying to think of, am I ever going to create a room that I want to be different than this? Probably not. I'm probably either just going to be using one of these two constructors. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do this one. So there we go. So how's everyone doing tonight? For a second there, I thought you were saying I forgot to hit play. Okay. So generate level. This will be mono behavior. Here's where I'm going to get that sprite. So we'll start off with that. Serialized field. Room sprite. Sure. Oh, need a sprite first. All right. I'm actually going to make this into a separate method. I'll give it private void, create room. Okay, let's go back into Unity. Bring your errors. Okay, so I need that sprite that I made. We'll go ahead, save this off. I'm just going to go ahead, hide this. Probably should just destroy it, but I'm just going to go ahead and hide it for now. Let's get that. All right. Now, I know later on, during the whole level creation, I want to go ahead and do certain things to rooms, especially after I've done combining them, maybe make certain rooms like a lava room or a water room. So for the initial creation, I do want to store the rooms. I may want to go ahead and I don't think I'm going to do anything with it while the actual user is playing it though. So I'm not sure how long I'll store it, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and make it global and just keep it here. So I'll make it a serialized field for now so I can watch it in the inspector, which of course is going to be a list of type room. Which I'm just going to call rooms. Nope. Suing. Nintendo. Okay. And that's because I'm in a different namespace now. We're out of Rouge and into Rogue. There we go. I'm actually just going to get rid of start. And because I want to see how long this takes to generate, I don't want it to generate as soon as the level loads because you always get that little pause for a second or so, especially since I'm streaming where I can't, adequately tell how long it takes to generate. So I'm going to create a button on the screen that I can hit, and I'll get the level to load that way. So let's zoom out, and I'm just going to put the button up here. Let's move it over 10 and down 10. I'm going to have to go ahead and make this public too. Yeah, I haven't made it public yet. Okay, that's fine. Let's go change that text. We want to call this generate rooms. Sure. Sounds good. We'll go back in. Let's make this public. Come back up to the button. Now we can add it to the list of events. Maybe. Am I not seeing it? Oh, create room. I was looking for generate. G. All right, we got that done. And I just want to make a quick check just to make sure it's working. I can't see why it wouldn't, but just in case. Give it a second here and try it. Yeah, it took a long time. I think that's just because of recording at the same time. Okay, so it works. Great. Okay. So in creating rooms, I'm going to have a set number of rooms that I want to create and within a specific area. So let's go ahead. We'll set those up first. So serialized field int not room size, level size. I'm not 100% sure how big I actually want this. So let's go ahead and also add in a range tag. Range attribute works too. I just want range. And let's do 128. No, 64 for the small. And on the top end, let's do 1024. I'm going to go ahead and put all of these together. And there we go. We've got our slider. I don't want to start off at 0 though. So let's start it off at 128. I think I could probably get away with 128. All right, not the dramatics. I've already adjusted the slider. And we also need number of rooms. Now this is going to be squared as well. So it's 128 by 128. And we also need the number of rooms to create within there. And how many do I want? For testing, I want at least a 1. Let it recompile. I just want to make sure it's showing up. There we go. Great. We got those two done. We got our room reference. Let's come back down to create room. Okay. So we'll go ahead and pick the position that we want it to spawn in. So vector 3 position equal to new vector 3. And inside we'll do a random dot range. And we want it to be between the minimum and maximum that we have set up for the room. I don't think we set a max, did we? Yeah, we did. We did max width, max height. So whoops. Room dot min width. Room dot max width. That'll take care of the X. We need to get the Y in there. I'm going to break this up to a different line. Let's just go down here. We'll do the height. And I've got the comma up there. That's fine. Come on. Stop. Hate that when it gets stuck in that giving you options mode and you can't get anything out of it. And this is the position. I'm going to keep them all on 0 for the vector for its position. Now we need to know how wide it has to be. Come on. So int x scale is going to be equal to what? Glad you like it, Mr. Regs. You the only one here? We got 14 watching, so everyone else, welcome to the stream. How's everyone doing? And I just realized I did this wrong. X scale. How big are we going to be on this side? Yeah. And now this one has to do with level size. You guys didn't catch this. Why didn't you catch this? So anyway, I know I want it to be square, so we're going looking at same thing, random dot range. Except for this instance, I'm going to go 0 to level size. That'll give me my X. Then let's do Y. And I think I can fit all this on one line. There you go. You should still be able to see it. So we've gone ahead. We've picked a random spot within our level size. We've gone ahead. We've got a random size for it on X and Y. So now let's go ahead and we'll create it and add it to the list. Ugh. Made a coffee. Probably should drink some of it. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and make a balance, put this information in. Can I pass stuff in this way? No, right? Oh, I can. Perfect. So we can go ahead. We got to pass the center in first, which is the position. And then we got to pass it a vector 3 for the size. Okay. I'm just deciding if I want to go ahead and make a vector 3 and pass that in. I don't think I'm going to need this anywhere else. I'm going to go ahead and make the separate one anyway. So I think I might need it a little bit later on. We'll find out. So I'm going to go say X scale, Y scale, and this is size. We'll do a 1. There we go. Juber the 3PO. How you doing? Oh, Jubber. How you doing, Jubber? Yeah, it's live. And Hyper Guy, welcome to the stream. Friday night, because hey, when you're old, married, and have a kid, you've got nothing else to do on a Friday night. You know you're in for a long night when you get a giant bottle of water. Okay. Okay. I've got quite a bit of this stuff to get done. I might try to live stream all weekend. Not consecutively 72 hours, but each day, different times. We'll see. Okay. So I've got my list up here. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and add this to my list. So rooms.add. And I'm going to add, I haven't even made my room yet. So room, I'm just going to call it temp. Yeah. Is equal to new room. There's two overloads. This is the one we're going to pass in as the bounds. So we're going to pass in B. Then let's go ahead and add the temp room in there. And let's jump out and see what it's like. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this. All right, so I want to go ahead, have my level generated. Open up rooms. I'm just generating one room. Level size, we'll go ahead, click. Did I not add? There we go. It's because I had clicked outside of it. So if I click again, there we go. And there's one other thing in the room that I want. I want to be able to ID which room is which. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave this here because I know I'm going to have a list. I'm going to have an ID as well. And I'm just going to refer to them as an for integers. Yeah. Just so when I start combining them and everything else, I have an idea of which is which. I'm not going to make it static, though. Not for now. Room ID is equal to the ID. Well, and for now, I'm just going to go ahead and pass in a 0. I'll probably end up having this in a for loop. Yeah. Anyway. Oops. Passing into the wrong spot. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll draw that little opaque box that I've made. And now that I think of it, I want to add a little bit of transparency to it. Actually, instead of drawing a sprite, let's actually go ahead and make it a real game object. I'm not going to put it in there. Let's bring it down to say 128. 127 would be half. That's good enough. I just want a little bit of opaqueness to it. If there's a 0, that's great. We'll go ahead. We'll drop it here. Go ahead, delete it. Jump back in. Since I've changed it from a sprite to a game object, I will have to reassign it. There we go. Save scene. And let's go ahead. We'll write in some code to go ahead and start placing it in there. Let me catch up on chat. For the people that are just coming in, if you have any questions that you want to direct directly to me, make sure you use the little @BurgZerg Arcade for your question. That puts it in red up on my screen so I actually see it and I can get to it a little quicker. You're kind of new to GD. Any advice? Oh, game development? I'd recommend, especially if you're just getting new to Unity, just start with basic games. Go out and learn how to make Pong. Go out and learn how to make, Frog or Asteroids. Copy the games that you already know so you don't have to sit down and try to design things either ahead of time or in your head on the fly. Go ahead, pick some of those old classics, the really short, simple ones. Do those and learn a lot from that before you start doing your own stuff. I see so many people trying to jump in, just make their own stuff right off the bat, and they just get swamped. They get nowhere. Months down the road, they just give up. So start with stuff that you just got to learn the procedures. Can you make a series creating a make from the beginning? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Can I make a series creating a game from the beginning? I've got a few of those. Yeah, I've got a few of those series already on the channel. If you go ahead and take a look. Okay. So let's go ahead and put that sprite up there. So we're going to go ahead and instantiate it. So game object, let me go ahead and adjust this a bit. I'm sitting kind of cross-eyed, kind of kitty corner to my keyboard because I've got everything spaced out here. I got too many damn little single board computers and everything else around here now. With the new Raspberry Pi Zero. Got a few of those in. Love that board. All right, equals instantiate. What would we want to instantiate? We want to do the room sprite. Where do we want to instantiate it? Let's go into that room. Temp dot bounds dot center. We'll do the quaternion identity. Have it face the camera. And shouldn't have to do that. So let's go. We'll take a look at this. Well, we're going to have to go ahead and scale it as well. Oh, catch up. Yeah. I got a really big long one. The hack and slash one is still relevant. There's still a ton of stuff in there. Everything still works. You just have to look some stuff up. Like you can't, there's no more GUI text in the menu up here, but you can still make it empty and add a GUI text component to it to make it. Same thing with texture. You can still use on GUI. It's still in there. Although, to be honest, I would go ahead and learn the new Unity GUI system and use that instead. But like I said, everything in it still works. You just got to do a little bit more work. What text software do I use? And how do you link to Unity? I'm not sure what you mean. How do you link to Unity? Oh, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Let me grab it. Let's not grab it in that one. Let's go in this. No. Come on. So this is what I've been using on the Mac. On Windows, I just use Visual Studio itself. I kind of like this better because it's so much for just working inside of Unity because it's so light and so fast to work in. Go ahead and hit the download. Download the version you want. And as far as getting it hooked up, there's some extensions you'll want to grab. Snippets is one, definitely. There's three here. I think I have all three installed on this computer, but Snippets is the one I use the most. And that's what gives you the connection to Unity and all the autocomplete. If you've ever seen me go ahead and do something like start, boom, it does my whole start method for me. All of the Unity messages, the mono develop messages, or mono behavior messages, sorry, are all built right in. So I recommend that. I'd have to read over the other two to see exactly what they do, if they're what you really want. But yeah, that's what I use. Another really good one is Atom, which is weird because it works on my laptop, but I haven't been able to get it set up properly on on this desktop. I'm sure I'm just doing something wrong, but I'm pretty happy with Visual Studio Code. How you doing? Mix the lightning to gray or light to anyway. How you doing? Basic math stuff you're looking for. Trying to make something similar to Doom. Oh, you started on Scratch? Well, that's quite a jump to go from Scratch to Unity. I do have a series coming up for Scratch, and if you have a Raspberry Pi, it's really cool because you can actually control it through your Pi, the actual Scratch inputs. But someday I'll get that done. I have to get done before summer. That'll probably be a weekend job. But anyway, let's go ahead. We want to size this. That's what I want to get done next. Lots to do. Don't want to get too distracted. So temp. Oh no, temp is the room. I want my sprite. Dot transform dot local scale. It's going to be equal to temp dot bounds dot size. All right, let's go back in. There we go. See it down here. Generate another one. So there we go. It's generating a bunch of rooms for me. Let's go ahead and increase this and put it into a for loop. And I'm actually going to create a different method for that. This is called generate level. As we catch up, is there a way to do random ranges that favor a sub-range of numbers, like a bell curve? Yeah, but you won't be using random.range for it. I'm not sure if there is a simple method in the math library where you can just go in and get a bell curve between two ranges. I'm sure there probably is. I've never used one though. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and see. This is generate level. I'm gonna call it. This will have to be public. This is actually what I'm gonna call from the click. So this is where I'm gonna put my for loop. Does not return anything, and level generation. Was it rooms? Number of rooms. Now we're going to call create room. And we'll pass in CNT for that room number that we're creating, which means down here we have to go int, and I'm just going to call it CNT as well. Actually, no, let's change it to ID. Now I can replace this down here with that variable, get rid of that magic number. All right, save that off. Let's jump back in. Number of rooms to create. Let's do 200. All right, we're started up. Let's go ahead, hit generate room, click. I clicked it. Oh, I forgot to call. Button, shrink that up. Calling a different method now. Generate level, level generation. Save scene, just in case something blows up. All right, ready? Click. Boom. See how fast that was? Now, obviously 200, too close for this here. Oh, helps if I'm still playing. All right, so click. Boom. 200 rooms within a 64 by 64, too much. And again, this is something you're just going to season to taste. 128. Now, the reason why I have a power of 2 for level size is I know later on I'm going to have to go ahead and create. That looks pretty good. Now, we still have to go ahead and generate the corridors between the rooms. Well, this is pretty good. But anyway, for the power of 2, oh, let's make it a child. The power 2 thing is because a little later on I'm going to use binary division in order to break my levels up. So let me go ahead and pull this up. So here we go. I've got my area. Pretend this is 128 by 128. I want to go ahead and do something like keep dividing in half. And maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 passes or something like that. And the next time I'll look up both pieces that I have. We'll call these districts. And maybe this district says, okay, let's go ahead. We'll divide in half. And then this district says no. Then we go ahead, does the next iteration. It's like, let's divide in half. And this one's like, let's not. And this one's like, okay, we divide in half this time. Then we run it again and say this one's in half. This one's not. This one's not. This one decides to. This one doesn't. Like, you get the idea where we just keep having everything. Then afterwards, we can go ahead, since we know the size of this. I'm going to sneeze just a sec. Oh, yeah, what am I? Since we know the size of these districts, because we know the overall size, we can go ahead and take our 200 rooms, or the number of rooms we have, and go ahead and proportionally space them out. For instance, let's say this one split. This here, big room, let's say it never gets any divided, or this district, sorry. We know that, well, it's a quarter of our map, so it should be receiving a quarter of our number of rooms. So 50 rooms should be generated here, 25 here, 25 there, another 25, another 25, another 25. And then you get the idea, right? We keep splitting them up. And that way there, you don't ever have to worry about getting all of your rooms all stuck in the same corner. Because the way it is right now, you know, we could get like a giant clump of rooms just in this area. And to be honest, looking at it, I know I wanted to originally separate my rooms as far as not having them overlap, either delete them or combine them. And I will be combining, but I might actually keep them together and form a heat map. So when I overlap like this, it becomes a hot area, and like the monsters will be a little bit. The monsters that spawn in this area will be a little bit harder. The loot will be a little bit better. Even just random stuff that falls on the floor from chests. So let's take this section, for instance. There's 3 layers here. So here it'd have a heat level of 1. Here's a heat level of 2. Here would be a heat level of 3. And I like this. That's something I'm going to think about. It's a little bit different than my original plan, but I do like that idea better. What would 400 rooms look like? Yeah, 400 rooms, I think too much. Let's see how long it takes to do 1024 in 1024. Shouldn't take that long. Boom. Well, that's spread out too much. Know how massive that map is? I don't have the camera following me yet. Let's just quickly set the camera up to follow me. I may actually want to have bigger rooms too. We'll have to see. Like the default size ones that we put down. Do you have a camera run here? Oh, we need a serialized field. Gotta grab the transform, target to follow. We'll just call it target. Oh. We don't need to start. I'm just going to make this simple. I should actually just, yeah, we don't need, well, we'll go ahead. Am I ever going to need the camera not to be centered on me? If I don't ever need the camera not to be centered on me, it's just better just to go and put the camera on me instead of writing a script. And I think that's actually the case right now, at least for now. So let's take the camera. There we go. Keep it at -10. Generate some rooms. Oh, I'm going to have to hit a lot. Well, let's not make it that big. Let's go back to that 200 by 128. I guess I could have just hit the random room a few more times. Oh my god. That doesn't seem all that cluttered. Is that really 200? Oh. Got them backwards. There we go. Number of rooms. I should have that above level size. By mine, that's just the way it works. There we go. Of course, we'll have to find a spot to put him in when he spawns. Let's go ahead. And I don't want them all out here like that. I'm going to have to go ahead and move them. I think it's fine. Like I said, the walls are going to be on the outside. Now, these are pretty big. And this, again, is either going to be combined or deleted. So this is just 2 rooms put together. Yeah, that's fine. That's pretty big. Let's go ahead and child these. Oh, not... Everyone knows I don't like clutter. There we go. Now they're all under here. And we should still see them here. There we go. Let me catch up on chat. The sprite sheet for my game I got off of, I think it was Open Game Art, to be honest. I'm not sure. It was someplace I didn't have to attribute, so I didn't bother saving it. It's just a random sprite sheet. There's better ones out there. It's just this one had pretty much everything I needed. Actually, I've got a few of them in here. The one I'm looking at right now was... not this one. Originally, I was thinking of doing like Ultima type game. Oh, here we go. Low poly mono. This is the one I'm using right now. A lot of cool sprites on here. Really, there's nothing to... there's no animations. I'll probably use this all the way through prototyping, but when I actually get to the point where I'm getting ready to put it up on the website, if I ever do decide to put it up on the website, I'll probably pick a different sprite sheet. But this is perfectly fine. Like, it's got so much. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's got so much. I don't see me needing a whole lot of extra stuff. What about armor? Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down with that. Let me quickly catch up. Oh, message retracted. What's that? Never seen that before. Again, if you have a question specifically for me, make sure you use the @BurgZerg Arcade. I'll see it a little bit quicker and I can answer it faster. Okay. So the sprite sheet. Yeah, it's hard to find assets that you like, that you really want. Ultimately, you end up having to create them yourself if you really want to have the customization that you want. Okay. So I've got rooms generated. I'm storing the rooms in a list. I know I want to do more to rooms a little bit later on, but probably not right now. Let me check my list here. What else do I got down? Tracking of cells. We can start working on the heat map. I think the heat map I want to do next. I think the heat map would be really cool. Let me just quickly check here. Looking at the stuff I've got right now. I've got a little document over here. Let's go and we'll start working on the heat map. And again, just a quick reiteration, the heat map is when two boxes overlap each other that do not get removed. They become special zones. What time is it? Almost 8. It's pretty good. Okay, so there's a lot of tools out there for creating 2D sprites that'll help you out. You don't just have to go into Photoshop or whatever it is you're using and go from there. Scripts. Just looking at some of these other things. I'll leave them from now. I know I'm going to want to get rid of them though. But anyway, so let's go ahead and make a new script called cell. And this cell just represents one, like a tile. So let's go. We'll click this room here. I'm not sure what room that is. Let's go ahead and open up the first one. So it's centered at, now keep in mind the extends is half the size. So this is actually, this room here is actually 7 by 4. Wonder if I should put 0 in for the Z. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. But anyway, that's how many cells it's also going to take up. So let's go ahead and we'll get that done. I don't want it to be a mono behavior, I don't think. I'm not going to put it on anything. I don't need it to be a scriptable object, so I don't think I'll be putting in anything there as well. Well, let's go ahead and grab that using, or the namespace. Okay. All right. So far for the cell, the only thing I really want to do is just keep track of the heat. default constructor. I'm just going to set the heat to be equal to 0, which it should be automatically, but coming from C, C++, I like to state that explicitly. And anytime they overlap, I want to increase the heat. So public void overlap. And I'm just going to say heat plus plus, increase it. And then I need a way to grab that heat as well. And I don't want to give them direct access to it. So I'm going to say, not void, sorry. Public int heat. And we'll just do get return heat. There we go. Don't think there's anything else I'm going to need to do there. There's a couple places I want to track the cells. I know each room is going to want to keep track of its cells, especially when I start combining those rooms, because then they won't be perfect squares anymore. So I'm not going to be able to contain everything inside the bounds. But for now, let's just work on the heat level. So let's do that here. I might actually want to move that into room itself. Let's get the method in that actually calculates it. Then if I need to move it to room later, that's fine. So I'm going to come down here, pretty much do the exact same thing, except now that I'm going to be using cells. Okay, so we got the create room. Oh, somebody heading to bed? Good night if you're headed to bed. I'll probably be heading out after I'm done the heat method as well. Running out of coffee. Okay. All right, so cells are going to be organized. How do I want to organize these cells? If we think about it, a couple of ways we could do it. We can just start counting here. This is 0 and just keep going. That means every row, when we go up to the next one, it's going to be starting off at whatever the level size is multiplied by the number of rows. I don't want to get into that. We could actually use an array, a multi-dimensional array, X and Y. That's probably the easiest way to do it. That way there, if I'm looking at it going cell 67 by 69, I know exactly where that cell is. I don't have to sit there and think, okay, what's the size of the level? Let's divide by the size of that level. Then whatever the remainder is, we have to count over. I like that idea better. So that means we can't use the list. That means we'll have to use a multi-dimensional array. And multi-dimensional arrays, you can't serialize field them unless you want to write some other code. And I don't need this to show up anyway. But that means when I click the button, I'll have to go ahead and instantiate it here. Or sorry, set the size here because I don't know outside of here. So cell is equal to new cell. Then level size by level size. There we go. And this is cells. There we go. Hi, Tav. Welcome to the channel. There's a few of us here. Okay. So let's go ahead and populate this array next. We can set another for loop up here. Not a for loop. Although a for loop could make it interesting. Let's go int. We're going to just do X and Y. Yeah. X is equal to 0. X is less than level size. X plus plus. And let's get rid of this. And then we can say cell X. And we are going to need Y. I'll do Y after. It's equal to new cell. And I'm going to do Y first. So we start at the bottom and work our way up, going across each time. This is cells. So the way that looks is when we go ahead and start it up, it starts off way down here at 0, 0. And it's going to go across like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it's using X and Y positions for it. And then I'll go up to the next one and the next one. That's how it populates it. Just catching up with some chat here. Okay. Just looking at some notes. Okay. So we've got it set up. We've initiated the size. We've gone ahead, added new cells to each one. Now I want to go ahead and we'll create the room so we know which ones are covered. So we come in, grab all that. Then when we create the rooms, let's populate that cell data here with each new cell we add. That'll work. So the way we'll get this one going that every time we create a new room, it'll quickly go through each cell that's in the room, increment its heat counter. Then when it adds the next room, it's going to do the exact same thing. So for here, all the cells that are in this square right here, scenes, gizmos, selection wire. Why is it not showing? Anyway, for all of the cells that are in here, they'll get increased by 1. And then when I make this second cube or second room, it'll add 1 to all the ones in here. So all these ones will end up into 2. Same thing when I add the third room here. All these are going to end up into 2. If I had another one going down, we'd get some into the 3s. Sounds easy. Right? Unless someone has a better idea. If you have any other ideas, let me know in the comments. There's a ton of ways we could create these maps. I'm trying to think of one that's not the traditional way to do it, but still adds a lot of flexibility and a little bit different than the traditional methods. I think heat maps could be really cool. But let me know. Okay. So let's start iterating through each one of these rooms as we create them. Have I used X and Y in here? I don't think so. Y is less than, the room is called temp.bounds.size.y. Then Y++, and I've already got typos. All right, we'll do the same thing for X. X is going to be equal to 0. Keep iterating through till X is equal to the size, and we'll increase X. Then we can say cells XY dot overlap. And I'm going to add a debug here. Now, debugs, especially in nested loops, oops, really slow stuff down. So when I add the debug command here, when I run it, it's going to seem slow. When I remove the debug line after, it's going to speed up quite a bit. I try to use more visual stuff on screen instead of debug.logs when you end up with huge arrays of stuff to go through. And actually, all I'm going to output is, let's type it in. So cells XY dot heat. No typos, no errors. Perfect. Wait, what are these anyway? So the things in room, I'm not using it. Okay, we're not actually doing it with the room ID in that. That's fine. So hit generate and wait. And it's this slow because it has to do all those debug.logs. And that didn't work out right. All it did was give me the ID. Let me check here. So we're going to iterate through the Y, X, debug logout, that heat. And I need to call the overlap first. I need to go ahead and actually do the overlap. And I'm calling heat, which just returns the heat. The overlap increases it. Okay, well, thanks for showing up, Jeff. Anyway, that's done. Go back in here and look again. Oh, I'm just doing X and Y, so it's always starting off regardless of where the room is. Wait. Yeah, regardless of where the room is, it's always starting off at 0 and going across. I need to actually offset that from where the actual room is positioned. Silly me. And no one caught that. Yeah, well, anyway. Temp.bounds.size. And then add the offset. And the same thing for Y. What's wrong now? Cannot implicitly convert float to... Okay, that's fine. So there we go. So now we go ahead and say, grab the first bottom left one, then add the offset. So we'll go across and up. Let's try this now. And I'm actually going to go ahead and make a smaller map just so it goes a little quicker. Level size 64 by 64. And let's just do 100 rooms. All right. Generate. Still gonna take a little bit. So it did 8. Then it did 7. Okay, I'm still doing something wrong here. Ah! No, that's right. No, it isn't. I'm debugging out the wrong information. And I gotta convert. Hang on. Oh, excuse me. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Oh. There we go. Kinda. I shouldn't have a 23. Let's go ahead and put up the position as well. Well, let's go ahead and actually start adding the colors. It'll make it more sense when I add the colors. I just want to get rid of that debug. Hey, now that I've deleted the debug, watch how much faster this is. It's funny how slow it is. Boom. Right back to the speed we had before. So quickly go through this. So we're going to go ahead and take the size X, add the offset that we're adding up here. We're going to go through, grab the Y, add the offset up here. We're calling the overlap function, which increases that. So it should work. Cartulina. Hopefully I said that right. I'm pretty sure it's not a long U like that. Cartulina. Anyway, hi, welcome to the stream. Okay. So we'll go ahead. We'll iterate through all these rooms now, or all these cells. We need nested loop. I'm just going to grab this nested loop up here. And I'm actually going to go put some of these in here as well. I'm going to be switching the colors. So we'll go ahead. We'll switch on X, Y, dot, cells. I keep saying cell. And we'll switch on how hot it is. I'll tab that in. This is supposed to be a colon. So if we have none, we'll have 1, 2, and 3 and above. I'm just going to use the default. Okay. Oh, typo. There we go. So what am I going to do here? Horrible ad going on right now, but people getting run over by trains. Let's do default by first. So game object, I'm going to call this red. Cell is equal to instantiate. I'm going to do that room sprite. I'm going to position it at, I guess we just have to go ahead and throw it at X and Y. We'll do new vector. Let's do X, Y, and I'm going to throw a -1. I want it to be on top of the white sprite we're throwing down right now. I want it to be on top of that so it doesn't, you can't see it. You can't see the white underneath it. And then of course, quaternion dot identity, get it facing forward. That should work. No comments? Everyone's sleeping. And of course, we're also going to have to go red cell dot get component. The component we're going to want is the sprite renderer. And we want to make sure that we're turning it red. So let's grab that color. And I'm just going to do completely opaque. Color.red. Let's save that off. So basically anything that we get above a 2 should get color now. If we don't have any errors. So there we go. We got a big patch down here, which doesn't seem right. So I am adding them wrong. That's still faster to debug than using the debug statement. Okay, so we go through, we create the cells here. We come down here, here's where we're populating. So we're going to go through and grab each specific one on the Y, on the X. That should work. Creepy candy, candy creep ent. I'm glad you like it. We'll probably look even cooler once we actually get it working right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we got to add the offset to, crap. I'm using the wrong part of the bounding. I'm doing the size. We want center. Because the way that works, as I say, this is, well, let's go ahead and we'll generate some. Since I have it set to down here to start down here, I was telling it to go from the size of the cell. So the size is always a set position, right? It can never be bigger than 10 and it can never be smaller than 3. And that's why we're getting a big red clump in the center here. And what we want to do is go by the position or the center. Remember the center is the positioning part of a bounds. And I got an index at a range. And that has to do with up here. I'm generating the position of where to put this room, and then I go ahead and figure out the size, and then I'm placing the room down. The problem with that is if I go ahead, and let's zoom in, hopefully you can see the lines here. Well, here, this is why I have this tool. Let's do blue. So I've got this area that I want to go ahead and generate my maze in. And I'm going ahead and calculating the position. And let's say it's saying start here. And it's saying make my room 10 by 10. And it's going like this. Of course, that's not exactly 10 by 10, but you get the idea, right? Now, when I come through doing the cells, it's going to go ahead and start calculating all the cells as it's going along here. But it's getting out of bounds because it goes bigger than my room size. So I have to go ahead and figure out how big this is going to be, which we already know because we're calculating that after we calculate the position, and just shift it down to make sure that it never goes past this line. So this whole red area, we're just going to move it down. So many colors. And now it's going to be within our level. You get the idea? Hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer. And we can do that. We're going to have to calculate size first now. Ooh, Stacy's mom. And we should be able to get away with just doing X minus X scale. Oh, wait, we don't want that, though. Because now we'll end up underneath. If we ever roll a 0. Do it here. It's got it going on. So that should... Yeah, because it's on the max that we're having the problems with. We don't have to worry. It's still 0, 0, so this is still the furthest I can put my room here. We're having trouble on the maximums. We're going over the maximums. Now, another thing to consider here is, do I want my whole maze contained within there? Because I can have a room right up on the edge. Do I want to leave a little bit of space here, some sort of inset, like an offset, but on the inside, where I can put my walls around it? If so, I should create a variable called inset. And I'm thinking if I want it or not. I'm not sure. We'll go ahead and we'll create that variable anyway. I might want to change this a little bit later on. And I'm going to do it just like I did with these ones here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it. And I'm just going to start it off at 0. And I'm going to say level inset. And I'm going to allow 0. And I can't see me ever needing more than 5. Let's do 8. And again, just so it's easy to understand, I have my level. Currently, rooms can be put right up against that edge. And by adding an inset, I have my level and my rooms. Let's say I had a 3 inset. So there's basically 3 layers of wall. I'm such an artist. And it's going to put those 3 layers of wall in before I can actually go ahead and put my room, my first room. Does everyone understand that? Hopefully so. Tatelax, or is it Tatalax? Anyway, the IDE, this is Unity. Unless you're talking about the scripting one, that's Visual Studio Code. But anyway, that's what the inset is for. I'm not sure I want that. I don't mind afterwards saying everything else, make it a wall. But we'll see. And of course, We'll have to add that here as well. And because it's long enough now, I'm going to go ahead and break it up over multiple lines. There we go. So again, give me a random spot between 0 and the overall size of the level minus the actual scale and the offset. Or inset, sorry. That should get rid of the out of bounds error. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and turn these off just so we can see what's underneath. And sure enough, those are the ones that are 3 or greater. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yep, it's 3 or greater. And you can also double check by zooming out. And I guess maybe I could have put these on different layers as well. Let's go ahead and add some more colors. Colors! And I should be breaking this out into different methods. I shouldn't be putting them all in the same method like this. So let's do yellow next. So we'll do yellow cell. Guess what color it's going to be? Oh. And we'll add green for the next one. Let's also rename them too so I can see it in the inspector better. It's all going to default for some reason. I'll have to figure that out. And while I'm here, let's also do green. I thought I had it all done, but apparently not. Ah, I did all these too. I knew I shouldn't have done it. So if it has a heat of 1, a heat of 2, and anything above 2. Yeah, we could do that as well. Put it on the outside of the wall or the walls on the outside. That's how I'm planning on doing it. But just in case anyone want to see how you could do it the opposite way, that way there you know your maps are exactly whatever size you said. Oops. Wrong button. Well, that's not right. Oh, here we go. That probably helps. Did I save it? Yeah. All right. So everything is set up by heat. I don't think I like it like this. The colors, that is. Let's actually make one bigger. So let's do a 128 by 200. I'm going to leave the inset level the way it is. And then click generate. So that's not too bad. We got a few red spots. Lots of green. Anyway, there we go. We got heat maps. Oops. Let's try 256 by 600 rooms. Yeah. Get lots of stuff. Man. That is so huge. Our guy can move around just to give an idea of how big this is. And again, this heat map stuff that's showing up, only wanted to show up in the editor. I don't care about it when the game actually plays. I'm never going to see it. It's just to help me get my level itself set up. Let me go ahead and change this to position. Let's put it up on 2. -2. We want it on top of the green. Actually, let's move them over here. It's just the sheer size of this. All right, here we go. And of course, this is where the walls will be. And I still have to add the offset for the actual, or scale for the actual size of my tiles. I'm still in the same room. I wonder if I'm going to have to set it up to where I can just hold the button down instead of keep tapping it. So yeah, this is pretty big. This is probably what the largest I'm going to make it. Size-wise, which was, what, 256? Yeah, I like that idea. 256 by 600. I'll have to do a few builds out, see if I can get it go ahead and get it running on my phone. It only takes a fraction of a second to build here, so it should be fine on mobile devices or devices with low RAM. Hopefully. Keep chatting. The more you chat, the longer I stay. Simple rules here. Simple rules for simple people. Ash, what time is it? I know it's after 8 now. But it's the weekend. I can let my son stay up a little later, right? Let's actually go ahead and simulate what the walls are going to look like. Let's do, we'll do it as a black cell. And I'm going to have to redo my character controller as well. I spelled black wrong. Oh, well. Fix that. But one thing at a time now. Right now, I'm just worried about getting the level done. But I don't want to go ahead and do the walls just yet. Simply because I have to do the corridors first. I think next I'm going to work on combining them. So there you go. And do we have any right on the edge? I don't have any right on the edge. Oh, I do. Down here. And that's on a minimum, so that means I'm also going to go ahead For the inset, generate. Excuse me. We have to add a level inset into here. That way there on the minimums, it gets moved as well. Let's actually go ahead and play with that inset. Let's do a big inset like a 10. Or 8 I set to be the max. That's fine. And then when we go ahead and generate, there should be a big border around it now. So there you go. See how we have that big, thick border of walls? Our map still only spans, was it 256 by 256? We're getting all 600 rooms inside of that area. It's just nothing can be outside of the walls here. And with the camera working the way it does with my character. And let me go ahead and switch them over to -2 again. Oh, I did the level generator. Fortunately for this color, I can't tell if I've clicked something. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll get them into a room. Yeah, 8 by 8 is more than I need. Because remember, the black is going to be a wall, so he can't move there. So what am I looking at here, realistically? One, 2, 3. I shouldn't need any more than a 3 offset. But again, that's also going to change depending on the sprites I'm using. I know the sprites I'm using aren't a full unit wide. They're 0.32, I believe it was. So the scale of this is going to shrink down a bit. But yeah, that should be good. Next, we should work on the cells contained within a room. And then that way there, we can go ahead and start combining them. But I'm probably going to save that for another video. I'm just going to think how I want to pass these off again. Because I've got them stored over here according to their position. That's their position in the array. Or their world position. And I can't do it that way in here. Because that would mean essentially keeping a copy of this in every room. And I don't want that. I only want to store the cells that are in there. But that means I'm going to have to go ahead and give them some property to store their position at. And I don't really want to do that either. Now it's just a vector 2. Like, it would make it easy. I don't think it's the right way to do it. Probably need a break. Well, I'll set it up this way, but I won't completely implement it because I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back and change it. Or we can just do it as 2 ints. Yeah, let's do it as 2 ints. Int x position is equal to and int y position. All right, so I need ways to adjust these. I need to be able to read them and send them in. Now, hi, Caleb.
Can you get a glass cup for me?
Upstairs?
Yeah.
Well, I'm streaming right now. I can't get one.
Okay. Because I'm trying to make a glass of milk.
Oh, you want a glass of milk?
Yeah.
Give me about 5 to 10 minutes and I'll come up.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. You want to say hi? I'm streaming. Right here.
Hello,
Yeah, come over here.
everyone.
Say hi.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Subscribe to my channel.
I don't even know about your channel. I don't know. I'll go upstairs. I'll see you. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, look up Taylor Plays. I have a YouTube channel too.
Okay.
And it's called Adult Little.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and store it. I'm gonna go ahead and create an overloaded constructor for this. So public cell int x int y. I'm gonna give it some default values as well. There we go. Then we can say heat is still equal to 0. Xpos is going to be equal to X. Ypos is going to be equal to Y. And we could make one more where we actually pass in the heat as well, but I'm not worried about that. I don't think I'm ever going to pass the heat in. I could change my mind though. And I need a way to get that back, and I'm going to get that back as a vector 2. You know what? Let's just store it as a vector 2. This will just be easier. Yeah, because I'm never going to need the third position, or am I? We'll do a vector 2 for now. And now we can say position is equal to vector 2.0. Let me just quickly check here. Are the red cells an indication of where the inner walls, holes in the ground will be? No. Those are where everything overlaps. The more it overlaps, right now I'm just going up to 3. I'm counting them as like hot zones. And in those hot zones, special things can happen. Like the monsters will be harder in those hot zones. The loot will be better in those hot zones. Even if just like if you discover a chest, opening it up, if it's spawned inside of one of those hot zones, it's just going to have better stuff. Everything is just heightened, essentially, in those spots. Originally, I was just going to go ahead and combine and delete. Even after I combine them, I still want to keep those red hot zones. That's why I want to store all the cells here before I combine them. All right, so position is equal to pos. That way there, when I create them, I can just pass in the position. And I will need a way to read it. There we go. That means when I'm creating them, I need to go ahead and pass in a position. Oh, wait, no, I have one that's 0. Oh, wait, no, I am going to need a way to set it. Because the way I have it set up right now is I'm creating all of my cells at the top here. Let me just think about this for a second. Yeah. This would be easier, just allow you to set them. We should add some error checking in there, but again, my kid's waiting, so let's just hurry up get this done. So that means we have to go ahead and in here pass in And if all that's working, we'll go ahead. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead, put them in the comment or put them in the description. The description. Time for a break. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them up now, because after I'm done this, I'll go through those, and then I got to go ahead and take care of the kid. All right, so it worked. I'm gonna get rid of that black. I just don't want it there. That's where I'm gonna be putting the walls anyway. And like I said, none of this stuff's gonna show up anyway. You know what? Let's add another level here. So this is gonna be 1. This is gonna be 2. 3 is now yellow, and 4 and above will be red. There we go. So on this level, there's only 1 hot spot. But of course, we could also make rooms bigger or add more of them per area to get more overlap. Oh, wait, no, sorry. There's some red spots over here, too. Not as much red. There's less red, which is good because there's more layers to go through. And the gray, or the translucent white, is normal. Yeah, I think this would be better. Especially on the earlier levels, you don't want to have a lot of red spots on your early levels. But anyway, let's go ahead and really crank this up. Number of rooms, 1024. And let's generate. Click. Boom. That's a lot of rooms. Like, we haven't even built the corridors yet. This is actually going to be an interesting situation because these don't overlap, but they touch. I hadn't thought about this yet. How am I going to deal with stuff like this? Because the walls go around the outside. So they are technically the same room. So I'll have to make a note of that because I thought of stuff like this. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and we'll answer some questions. Okay, some of you go ahead. Again, I guess I should have told you to use the @BurgZerg arcade symbol. Would have been a little bit better. Let me check. I'm not sure what the Hypnotoad thing is, but anyway. I haven't put the code in. There'll be corridors connecting the rooms. Now, I don't ever want a maze or my level to be this congested with rooms. I'm just testing out just to see how fast it is with congested rooms. Realistically, for 256, maybe 800. This is probably about as many rooms as I want for something this big. I'll just have to click the button. Even that might be too much. Again, we have all the variables to play around with. We can go ahead and change the size of the rooms too. So we can have fewer rooms, but make them bigger so that we have more space to run in between. But again, they're all sliders, so it's going to be easy to play around with. See anything else? Okay, I guess if that's it, I'm going to go ahead, log off, go get my son his milk, get him ready for bed. Thanks for everyone showing up. I'm not sure if I have any patrons watching. I'll go ahead and upload the code later on tonight for you up onto Patreon. And I guess that's it. I'll see everyone later. I'll try to get a stream into more. If not, I'll probably put a video of something up. See. Yeah, no problem. Anyway, I'm out of here. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.